When you're 18 years old and driving a Formula One car worth millions of dollars, the last thing you want to do is take out the four-time world champion on the opening lap of his home race. But that's exactly what happened to Kimi Antonelli at the Austrian Grand Prix, and the fallout has everyone asking the same question. Was this just another rookie mistake, or is there something more to this story? Picture this: the Red Bull Ring, packed with tens of thousands of Dutch fans wearing orange, all there to watch Max Verstappen race at Red Bull's home circuit. The lights go out, the cars launch forward, and within seconds, their hero is sliding backwards into the gravel trap, his championship hopes taking yet another massive hit. The culprit? A teenager who'd been in Formula One for less than half a season. Let's rewind and understand exactly what happened here, because this incident has layers that go far beyond what you saw on your TV screen. Max Verstappen started the Austrian Grand Prix from 7th place. Already a disappointing position for someone who's dominated this sport for years. His qualifying had been compromised by yellow flags when Pierre Gasly spun, preventing him from improving his lap time. So he was already on the back foot before the race even began. 2 places behind him sat Kimi Antonelli in 9th position. The 18-year-old Italian had been having a decent season for a rookie, but he was still learning the ropes in the most demanding motorsport series on the planet. As the field approached turn 3, that infamous uphill right-hander at the Red Bull Ring, everything went catastrophically wrong. Antonelli hit the brakes hard, trying to scrub off speed as cars bunched up ahead of him. But instead of the smooth deceleration he was expecting, his rear wheels locked up completely. When your rear wheels lock control of the car's direction, and suddenly you're just a passenger in a very expensive missile. As Antonelli later explained to the media, he found himself heading straight for Liam Lawson's Racing Bull's car. In a split-second decision, he tried to avoid Lawson by steering to the right, but this put him on the dirty part of the track where there's significantly less grip. With his car now completely out of control and his front wheels also locking up, there was only one possible outcome. Verstappen, running directly ahead and completely unaware of the chaos unfolding behind him, suddenly felt a massive impact from behind. His car sustained serious damage, with wheels hanging off and the entire rear section compromised. Both drivers were immediately out of the race, their afternoons over before they'd completed a single lap. The immediate aftermath was telling. Verstappen's radio crackled to life with his frustrated voice. Verstappen's radio crackled to life. His frustrated voice.
I got life for this frustrated voice. No crowd. I know that is funny. I'm just read as it is lead serve and there's nothing wrong. Yes. Yeah, the good idea. Our goal is indeed that in the sequence of terms and encounters two verses with the Helen turns body into the daily nose. This. I snips that steady me out of Susie's a little bit. And Antonelli kids was stealing.
What happened next, though, shows you the character of both drivers involved. While many rookies might have hidden in their motorhome after such an incident, Antonelli did the exact opposite. He immediately sought out Verstappen to apologize face-to-face. Verstappen later revealed what that conversation was like. Speaking to the media after the race, he said he simply asked Antonelli what had happened, because the young driver was the only other person who'd been there with him, standing next to his own damaged car with a wheel hanging off. It was only when Verstappen saw the footage later that he fully understood the sequence of events. But here's where the story gets interesting, and where we need to ask whether this was really just a simple rookie mistake or something more complex. The FIA stewards conducted their investigation and concluded that Antonelli was fully at fault for the collision. They handed him a 3-place grid penalty for the next race at Silverstone, plus 2 penalty points on his license. On the surface, this seems like a straightforward case of a young driver making an error under pressure. However, Toto Wolff, Mercedes team principal, raised some intriguing questions immediately after the race. When asked about the incident, Wolff said something that caught everyone's attention. "I'm not entirely sure it was his fault or a system." He went on to explain that he hadn't seen the data yet and wasn't sure whether the brake lockup was purely down to driver error or potentially a mechanical issue. This is significant, because brake systems in modern Formula One cars are incredibly sophisticated. They're not just mechanical components. They're electronic systems with multiple settings and aids that can be adjusted on the fly. If there was a system malfunction, or if the brake balance was set incorrectly, it could explain why Antonelli's rear wheels locked up so dramatically. Antonelli himself provided another clue when he reflected on the incident later. He admitted that he should have changed his brake settings before the corner, saying, "I just should have changed the brake setting and none of this would have happened." This suggests that the car's setup might have been partly responsible for what occurred. Think about it from Antonelli's perspective for a moment. You're 18 years old, you're in your first season of Formula One, and you're racing at one of the most challenging circuits on the calendar. The Austrian Grand Prix is notorious for its elevation changes and tricky braking zones. Turn 3, where the incident occurred, is an uphill right-hander that requires precise brake management and perfect timing. Add to this the fact that Antonelli was running in traffic with multiple cars around him, all braking at slightly different points, and you start to understand the complexity of the situation he found himself in. When he hit the brakes and felt the rear wheels lock, he had perhaps half a second to react before physics took over completely. But let's also consider the broader context of Antonelli's season up to this point. This was his 3rd DNF of the year, which is a concerning pattern for any driver, but especially for a rookie who's supposed to be learning and building experience. Each retirement represents lost track time, lost data, and lost opportunities to develop his racecraft. The championship implications of this incident cannot be overstated. Verstappen's retirement was his first of the season and ended a remarkable streak of 31 consecutive races where he'd scored points. More importantly, it came at a time when he was already struggling to match the pace of McLaren's Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. With McLaren taking a 1-2 finish in Austria, Verstappen now finds himself 61 points behind championship leader Piastri with 13 races remaining. In Formula One terms, that's not an insurmountable gap, but it's a significant deficit that puts enormous pressure on both Verstappen and Red Bull to find performance from somewhere. The psychological impact might be even more significant than the points lost. Verstappen has built his career on the belief that he can win from anywhere on the grid, that his racecraft and speed will always give him a chance. But when your race ends through no fault of your own, especially at your team's home race in front of thousands of your own fans, it has to affect your mindset. However, Verstappen's response to the incident has been nothing short of exemplary. Rather than raging about the collision or criticizing the young driver responsible, he's shown remarkable maturity and understanding. He told the media that every driver has made mistakes like this in their career, and he praised Antonelli as a very big talent who will learn from the experience. This response says a lot about Verstappen's character, but it also reveals something about the current state of his championship campaign. Earlier in his career, when he was fighting tooth and nail for every point, he might have been more critical of such an incident. His measured response suggests that he's already written off this season's championship and is thinking longer term about Red Bull